sold us. Yes, Africans did sell slaves, but you must understand, slavery was there even before slave trade across the Atlantic began. But when we sold slaves, we did not sell slaves to each other. Rather, when we conquered one tribe, we took slaves. When those slaves were taken, they were part of the village, part of the tribe. They worked for the benefit of the tribe. They were never treated the way the slaves that were taken across the Atlantic were treated. Because of the problems with communication back then, it took them a long time before they started hearing stories about how their children were being treated when they're transported across the Atlantic. Slowly, they started refusing to sell the slaves. Many chiefs and many kings were killed because they refused. They were now refusing to sell the slaves. Those stories, you will not find them in the history books, because the whole idea is not to tell us the truth, but rather to keep us divided, accusing each other of having sold each other into slavery. Those are lies. Understand them for what they are. The reality is, as black people, we are a wounded people, and we need healing. And that healing is going to come through our togetherness. So as if that was not enough, 1884, I often talk about the Berlin Conference, which was a pivotal time in the history of Africa. The colonizers came together and organized themselves to see to it that Africa and her children are forever defeated and dominated. May I underscore that point? They met in Berlin to see to it that Africa and her children are forever defeated and dominated. They chopped us up into the tiny little economies that we are today, so they can see to it that whenever we try to survive, it is mission impossible. Should we make it like we always do, we have economies that are easy to destabilize. So from 1884 up until the late 1950s, we were completely ruled from the colonizers' capital. So if you were colonized by the French, you were ruled from Paris. If you were colonized by the British, you were ruled from London, Portugal, Italy, Germany. So we were objects of the master. Now take this. So between 1957 and 1963, as the African countries began to complain, and we have more and more leaders that had traveled abroad and they knew better, they then finally started curving in and decided to give us our political independence. When they gave African countries political independence, they gave them the same sovereignty as the master on the world stage. So yes, Togo, you are now an independent nation who is sovereign. Let's go to the world market and trade as equals. How does Togo trade with the former master, France, and be equal? How do these small African countries go to the world stage and trade with Britain, the former master? The master is now in your home, enjoying a 100-course meal on a table with food from your field, while you, the owner of the house, you are under the table waiting for them to drop some crumbs. And while you're under the table, you are fighting each other over which brother, which sister got the larger crumb. And when you try to say, by the way, there's a problem, I'm under the table while you're enjoying my food on my table in my house, oh, you got a problem. I liken it to what happened to me. Well, ambassador, how can you be an ambassador and also be a diplomat, an activist? I said, I'm not being an activist. I am being a diplomat. I'm talking to you from under the table. I'm trying to let you know that there's no way we can have a conversation with you on the table, enjoying a 10-course meal in my house, my food, and I'm under the table. Amen. Now, let's fix this situation first, before we can be two diplomats talking like equals. And until the situation is equalized, there is no meaningful conversation. I will speak, but I will use the diplomacy of the day, the diplomacy that is called for at this time, at this moment, when we are so unequal. I need you out of my house. It's like I liken it to holding a fire rod, and you're burning me, and you're burning me, and I'm saying, ouch, ouch. How do I say ouch diplomatically? How do I tell you to stop burning me diplomatically? You ought to be glad that I'm asking you to stop burning me, because in actuality, I should beat you up.